Welcome to WQLN Artists. My name's Miss Molly, and I'm here to talk to you about the great outdoors and art. I love making art, and I love learning about nature. I'm outside studying nature like an artist would. I have brought my art supplies, my pencils, and my markers and my crayons. I've brought a little sketchbook to draw what I see in here, and I actually picked up this hydrangea plant, and I'm studying all the shapes and lines on it. A lot of artists do this before they make their art. They go out and study things. They look at the leaves, they look at the plants. If you look close enough, you can see some bugs, maybe some worms. And I know you can probably hear the birds chirping. We also study that. So before we do art, you should go outside and observe what you see. Sometimes you will notice things that you might not have known were there, like all the little veins in the leaf of this hydrangea plant. Where do they go? How are they branching out? Which ones are thick? Which ones are thin? I'm going to continue sketching my hydrangea blossom here and noticing all the little tiny details on it. And then I'm going to start my art painting. We're going to have so much fun today. We're going to go into the studio in a few minutes. We're going to learn about our artist. We're going to see the artwork she liked to create. We're going to learn how she created that artwork. And then we'll be able to do a little art lesson based on her artwork. And we'll have a little movement. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Are you ready? Let's go inside the studio. Welcome to my studio, artists. This is where we're going to create some art. We just got in from outside and we were looking at things in nature. Well, let me introduce you to the artist that love to create paintings of nature. Her name is Georgia OKeefe. Can you say Georgia OKeefe? Georgia OKeefe. She was a female artist from America, and here's a picture of her. And here is another one of her when she was a little bit older, but she's standing next to two paintings that she created using things she saw outside. This is actually one of a bone, a skull of a cattle or a bull that was out in the desert, and she added a little flower to the top. Well, in my mystery bag, I have a couple of other things that she liked to paint often, over and over. Lots of different things, but kind of similar. And we'll take a closer look at these two things. Are you ready to see what's in the mystery bag? What is in the mystery bag? The two items that we can find outside. I'm thinking in my head of things I can find outside. Maybe the things are out in your backyard. Maybe they're down by the beach. What could be two things that this artist might like to paint that are outside? I have my thinking cap on, and I'm thinking, making good guesses. Well, you ready to sing the song with me? It goes like this. What's in the mystery bag? Who can tell? Maybe it's a book or maybe it's a shell. What's in the mystery bag? I'd like to see. It's something special for you and me. Let's see what the first item is. This item's very hard, and it's a little bit bumpy. Seems like there might be a hole in it. Let's see what it is. Do you see? This is a shell. Sometimes Georgia OKeefe liked to paint shells. Let's look at one of her artworks of her shells. Right here. Look, this is a shell she painted. So what kind of lines do you see? Do you know what kind of line this would be that she started with? That's like a spiral line. Can you say spiral? Spiral. So she painted this shell and she made it really, really big, didn't she? And she used a spiral line and maybe a circle shape. Do you see the outside? Circle. Wonderful. Let's see what the last thing is that we have in our bag. This you might find in your backyard. Are you thinking of things that you could see in your backyard? It is a little bit more delicate, and there might be a clue on the table with what it might be if you use your eyes and look. It's a flower. So she really loved painting flowers, and she would look at the flowers outside and look at them very close up and see all the parts, but then she would keep it real simple. She wouldn't paint the stem and all the leaves and the petals. She would paint like part of it really, really big. Would you like to see one of her flowers? Right here, look at this. Can you see this whole flower? She zoomed in like she was a little bee in the center of that flower, and that might be what the bee sees. Look how close up it is. Look at all the colors she uses. Can you name some of those colors that she used in her flower painting here? I see, that's right, reds and yellows and some oranges. These are all really warm colors. So she painted this flower very big using some warm colors. I'm also looking at those lines. We talked about lines earlier, didn't we? We have a lot of wavy lines in here. You see all those wavy lines? Wonderful. Would you like to see one more picture? This is of her studying the flowers in nature outside. So when we create art, sometimes we study things before we start drawing and painting them. And that's why we were outside at the beginning of the hour looking for flowers and studying the lines and shapes, just like Georgia O'Keeffe. Before we get started on our artwork, I have a little book here that I would like to read to you so we understand a little bit more on how Georgia O'Keeffe started drawing. This is called Little People, Big Dreams, Georgia O'Keeffe, written by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vergara and illustrated by Erica Salido. This is going to tell us how she started painting and became an artist. Little Georgia grew up with 6 brothers and sisters on a farm near Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. But while they played games, Georgia preferred to look at the world around her. Do you see how she's studying the snail and the flowers? At school, Georgia was always more impressed by the colors she saw through the classroom window than the numbers written on the blackboard. And when Georgia was 12, she told her mother she wanted to become an artist. She started lessons, and her drawing soon became the most impressive in class. Look at her using her paintbrush and her canvas. Georgia moved to Chicago and then New York to keep studying art, but everyone in the city was so busy, they didn't have any time to notice the beauty in the little things around them, the little things like a flower. So she decided to paint that tiny flower by putting her nose very close to it. Suddenly, the littlest flower became the most enormous painting. No one could ignore its beauty. A famous photographer named Alfred saw Georgia's paintings and wanted to share her work with the world. He put together an exhibition of her artwork. They're all going in a line to go inside this building and look at Georgia's paintings. Georgia's paintings left the public wide-eyed in amazement. They just couldn't figure out what they were looking at. But Alfred understood her paintings. He was an artist too. And soon they realized they were made for each other and got married. Inspired by New York, Georgia decided to paint towering skyscrapers as only a child could have painted them. For her, the city was made up of enormous squares. So lots of squares and rectangles. And then when summer came, Georgia visited New Mexico, and she immediately fell in love with the desert. She painted crosses, sand dunes, and even the skulls of dead animals. They were all fascinating to her. She loved Every stone, every bone, and every color of the lonely desert she painted every single day, and a house nestled between red hills. Nothing was too small or too ordinary for her. Through her art, Georgia flew all around the world to different museums. They called her the mother of American modernism. And today, you can see how the ordinary has become extraordinary when you take time to look at it as little Georgia did. So now, we are going to take our ordinary flowers and we are going to make them extraordinary artworks. Boys and girls, wasn't that a wonderful story? We got to see Georgia O'Keefe and how she got started becoming an artist. Are you making a connection? This might be you. You might like to be outside studying things that you find in nature, just like Georgia O'Keefe. You might be practicing your drawing and painting at home like she did. And she never gave up. She kept working hard throughout her life, practicing. She became very good at art. So now that we're done with our story, I wanted to do a little bit of talking to you about lines before we get started on our art project. When we do art, we use lots of lines. And let's study some lines. Do you have a piece of paper laying around that you can use and maybe a pencil or crayon? If you do, go get it. We're going to try drawing some lines, and that will help us with our artwork today. Are you ready? So here I'm going to do my lines right on this screen. Lines are so important, and there's lots of different kinds of lines. Can you think of some lines that you know of? We have straight lines. Can you stand up and make yourself into a straight line? Yeah, go ahead. Go stand up. Straight lines. Now, straight lines can go up and down like your body, like you're doing right now. Or if you lay down on the ground, you can make a horizontal line. So these are two kinds of lines. We have straight vertical, straight horizontal. What other kind of lines? I'm thinking of the lines I see around my house and the lines that I see every day, and I know that there are lines that go up and down. Sometimes when I'm at the beach, I see this wavy line. Sometimes when I go to Waldemere, I see a wavy line on the roller coaster. Should we try to do a wavy line? Let's go up, down, up, down. I'm going quite slow on that. Wonderful. Do you think you can make your body into a wavy line? You might have to stand up and go up and move your hips back and your feet up. Or maybe you're on the ground with your head up and then down and up, wavy. The next one's like a wavy line, but instead of having the curved line here, it's going to have points. And that's called a zigzag line. Can you say zigzag? Zigzag. So zigzag goes up, stop, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's hard to make your body turn into a zigzag line, but why don't you give it a try? You might just be making one zig with your body, with your hands on the ground and your feet on the ground to make like a little peak. Good job. So these are the lines we're going to use with our artwork today. We have straight, curvy, and zigzag. The last thing I want to talk to you about is shapes. We're also going to use one shape, and this shape is a circle. Can you say circle? Circles do not have any sides. It starts as a point and it goes round and round and connects itself. I bet you can make your body turn into a circle. Can you lay down and bring your arms around and touch your feet? Yeah. Or you could make a circle with your hands, like this, or like that. This is a big circle. We're going to make a very big circle for our artwork today. Are you ready to begin? So this is our art that we are going to create today. If you don't have your supplies ready, that's okay. You can go find the supplies and the lesson on WQLN.org. No worries. But if you do have your supplies ready, let me show you what we'll need. I have some crayons and some markers and a white piece of paper. I also found some watercolors. If you have a set of watercolors at home, you can get that. And if you're using the watercolors, go ahead and grab yourself a little cup of water as well. And the final thing I like to use when I'm making art is something called a messy mat. And I have my big messy mat right here, and this helps keep our tables clean. So if you have a messy mat, grab that. And meet me back here for our art lesson. We're going to talk about making flowers just like Georgia O'Keeffe. Boys and girls, are you ready to get started on your art lesson? I have my flower ready to go that I'm going to investigate. I'm going to observe like Georgia O'Keeffe did. I have my paper, my paint if you have paint, markers or crayons if you don't, and we are going to get started with that shape that goes right in the center or to the side. Nice and big, a nice big circle. Just like this. So I'm going to find a good spot on my paper for my circle. I could put a big circle down here. I could put one up here. You get to decide. When you're ready, air draw it first, just so you get a feel of where your circle is going to go and how it's going to feel when you're drawing it. So you can make it nice and big. I'll draw one up here. And it's okay if it's not a perfect circle, because a lot of times we don't see perfect circles in nature. So mine has a little bit of bump, and that's all right. Now that we have our circle drawn, we're going to do our petals, and our petals are going to radiate. They're going to all start from our circle and come out to the edges of our paper. Now in Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings, we always didn't see the stem and the petals. We might go right off the page. When you're ready, why don't we practice air drawing? From the edge of our circle all the way to the edge of our paper. You can do straight lines, you could do wavy lines, you could do zigzag lines, you could do curved lines. You get to choose, you're the artist. I'm going to start here and I'm going to go out to the edge. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of wavy lines. There, this is a big long petal compared to that one. So some of your lines are going to be longer than the others. I'm always starting at the center, going out to the edge. Oops, I pressed a little too hard on that one. And that's all right, I can just peel this paper off. This crayon still works. There we go. So I have my petals radiating from the center. Now I can add some texture. On here, I did little tiny circles like this one for my texture. That's going to take a lot of time. So if you have time and patience and perseverance, you could do your texture like this. I'm drawing my circles and they're touching each other, taking my time, going slow. If that's too much for you, you could take and do some horizontal lines that go straight across and vertical lines. So let me show you that. This is all on the inside of my circle. So these are laying down horizontal lines. Can you say horizontal? Horizontal goes across the paper. Then we get our tall vertical lines. This is giving us great texture too. There's more than one way to get texture for the center. You might have your own way to do it. Actually, I think I'll do this one. You get to decide because you are the artist. When you're done, you can go look at your crayons and you can start coloring. Now I found some purple here, and when I color, I do overlapping crayon marks like this. And I always like to do the edges first, the edges of whatever I'm coloring, and then I can do the inside. This helps for craftsmanship, taking my time. I don't want to color like this. That would be a little bit sloppy. So you're going to take your time, back and forth, really great craftsmanship, like an artist would do. If you have your watercolors and your paints, you can paint. So I'm going to use my brush here. I'm going to get it wet, and I like to press the bristles on the inside of my cup so it doesn't drip too much. And then I'm going to come over and choose whatever color I want to paint. And I'm carefully spinning it around the paint. I don't want to scrub and dig because it's going to ruin the bristles. That's the hair of the brush. All the bristles will go and give your brush a bad hair day. So very gently, round and round. Then you can come over to your artwork and go all the way to the edges. If you run out of paint, more water, more paint. Press bristles, swirl paint. My paintbrush strokes are even going the same way my petals are going. They're radiating, these brush strokes are radiating. Now, if you don't have paint, but you want to paint, and you found yourself some washable markers, let me show you how you can do that. You're going to take your washable marker, and you can draw some lines. It's okay if you don't color the whole thing in. Then you can get your paintbrush, press your bristles, and you can paint right on top of these washable markers. They'll start turning to paint. It's going to be a little lighter where the white is, but that marker is bleeding into that paper, turning it to paint. What if you don't have a paintbrush? Is there something else we could try? You have a Q-tip, you could use a Q-tip. If you have a little piece of paper towel, you could use a piece of paper towel, or you could use your finger. And I'm just going to use one finger. I'm just dipping one finger in there, let it, and then I can paint that water right on my markers. And that works too. So we have a lot of different solutions on how to get color on our flower, our Georgia O'Keefe flower. All right, you finish coloring and then we'll come back and look at our final artwork. Wow, boys and girls, whoo-wee, I am tired. We got a lot accomplished today, didn't we? We looked at nature outside. We talked about the great outdoors and things that we can find in nature. We talked about the very famous American artist Georgia O'Keefe and the artwork she liked to make. We read a story today on how she got started and thought in our heads, oh, is this how we could become an artist with the practicing and drawing and observing nature? We also talked about all those different lines that we can use to help create artwork, like our curved lines or our wavy lines or zigzag lines. And we talked a little bit about shapes. We had some good craftsmanship today, and that means that we took our time and we persisted while we're creating our art. Artists always do that. I'm so proud of you and your hard work. The last thing you need to do today is find a special spot to display your painting or drawing. Where could you hang it that would be really nice? Is it on the refrigerator door? Or maybe it's in your bedroom? Find a special spot and hang it up for all to see. They'll really enjoy looking at it, and you can tell them a little bit about your artwork and the artist you learned about. It was a lot of fun creating with you today, boys and girls. Thank you for watching WQLN PBS, where learning's brought to life. Farewell.